Let's talk about something that I used to believe in really hard when I came to America. Meritocracy. Like, if you work very hard, if you're qualified, if you do what you're supposed to do, you move up, right? That's the story that they sell you in America, especially if you're an immigrant like me. Because when you're an immigrant, you are already wired for sacrifice. You come wired for sacrifice. You already come wired for discipline. You already come wired for, I am going to do whatever that I need to do to make this work. So when people say, just work hard and you'll be fine, you're like, hey, this is a bet. I'm going to do this. Let's do it. But I'm going to tell you what happened to me in corporate America that made me realize a lot of times the meritocracy that they're talking about is just racism with a lipstick. It's discrimination with an HR policy. It's gatekeeping with a big smile. And it's so subtle that if you don't have receipts, people tell you that you are imagining it or that you're overreacting. So today, I want to break down what meritocracy is supposed to mean and what it often means in America when you're Black or an immigrant. And the exact moment I realized that the rules that they keep talking about, they weren't the same for everybody. So I was working at a job, I'm not going to say where, and we had a very strong training program with a solid budget behind it. And the company even encouraged continuing education and training because they did not want people to stay stuck and they wanted people to grow. They also had a separate benefit, which was the tuition reimbursement program. So tuition reimbursement is like, if you're going to school, we'll reimburse you. But the job related training, that's supposed to be covered by the department budget. And trust me, they had the budget for it at the time. So I'm thinking, okay, this is how corporate works. They are there are systems in place, there are benefits, and there are policy. Cool. Okay. And in that department, there were only 3 Black women, and I was one of them. Now, here's what happened. We had a software that I needed to do my job. And it was a specific software that the company had designed for them to use internally. It had nothing to do with her Word. It had nothing to do with Excel. And in fact, I've never used it before. And the first time I heard about it was when I was working there. But I needed it to support the people that I was working for. So I did what they told us to do. I filled out the paperwork, I submitted the training request, and the department head emails me back and says, the gist of the email says the department doesn't pay for that. You have to use your tuition reimbursement. And I remember reading that like, wait a minute, because I am pretty sure that HR said job related training is department funded. So I'm like, okay, let me not argue. Let me not, assume anything. Let me verify. So I emailed HR and HR replies basically, nope, tuition reimbursement is a benefit that's for college, even if it's not job related. But this training that you're asking for is 100% job related, and the department should pay for it because they have the budget. So now I'm like, okay, so why did the department head tell me the opposite? Hmm. Now, this is the part where people highly underestimate immigrants because immigrants, we know how to read the room. So I started doing quiet research. So at lunch, I started asking my coworkers, Have you taken this training? How did you get it paid for? So, what I noticed was that my white colleagues, oh, yeah, they would say, oh, the department paid for it. Yep, no problem. Oh, yeah, I took that and a bunch of other training too. Then I would ask my black coworkers, the two other black women in that department, and they said to me, nope, we got denied. They told us to use our tuition reimbursement to pay for that, or we can pay for it out of pocket if we want to. So now I'm sitting there like, hold on. So the department pays for it when they ask, but when we ask, suddenly it's use your benefit or pay out of pocket. In corporate America, training is not just training. Training is promotion access. Well, it's supposed to be, at least, because the more that you learn their system, especially if the company has internal system designed to run their specific business, their internal tool, their processes, the more qualified you become, it's the higher roles inside the company that you can apply for. So if you block someone from training, you're not just blocking a class, you're blocking a whole career path for that person. And that's basically when I realized that something bigger was happening, because I started noticing that my white colleagues, they kept getting promoted, they kept moving up. And when Black employees applied, somehow we were not qualified enough. But then here's the part that will make you stare at the wall. Sometimes they would even hire someone and then ask you to train the person for the job that they said that you were not qualified for. Somebody please make it make sense. Because if I'm not qualified, why am I training the person that you hired? That right there is not meritocracy. That right there is power. It's gatekeeping. And that is basically saying we decide who gets to be seen as qualified. But I'm not someone who usually, actually, I don't give up easily at all. So I took it a little further and I wrote an email, and I kept it very professional, clean, and policy based. And I reminded them that in my email that this is job related training and that tuition reimbursement is a separate benefit, and that I was already doing the job, by the way. I was already trying to learn the software on my own. But I said I need to be proficient so that I can perform my job better. And I CC'd HR on it. I know. And when I tell you, that training got approved immediately. Immediately. So what does that tell you? It tells you that that so-called rule that they were talking about, that rule wasn't real. It was a rule that was for me, or at least for people who look like me. And this is the part I really want to sit in, because it explains why meritocracy, I feel that it's so insulting sometimes. Because when they say meritocracy, what they mean is if you are the right kind of person, then we'll invest in you. In my experience, the right kind of person often means if you look like them, especially if you're a white man, all you have to do is express interest and they will train you on the job. You get the job and then you get qualified while you are already in the role, while you're already getting paid. The qualification rate, by the way. But if you look like me, now all of a sudden it's go figure out how to pay for the training or use your tuition reimbursement benefit or get X amount of years of experience or whatever other hoops that they want you to jump through. So for them, merit feels like it's like basically a moving walkway at the airport. But for us, merit feels like it's like you're running uphill in sand and you got a backpack on with 100 pounds dumbbells in it. And here's the thing. When a system claims that it's the best, but most of the people in the room, they look the same. I'm like, how are you calling yourself the best when you're blocking other groups from even competing? Because if everybody was included, if everybody had equal access, we would really see who's the best. And let's take it further. If America was truly based on meritocracy, I believe that our workforce would be way more diverse and we would have made way more progress, especially in science, in tech. So when people tell me, just work hard, I'm like, I did. I am. But I also had to learn the second half of the game: paper trails, policies, receipts, strategy. And if you're an immigrant watching this, I know that you know this feeling because you come here thinking you just need to learn the system, right? But when you realize you also have to learn um, how people perceive you, and you also have to learn how quickly your competence gets questioned and how often that you are put in a prove it mode. You always on this prove it mode path. And that's very exhausting because it's not just one moment, it's a bunch of moment that accumulates. And it makes you start asking yourself, am I doing something wrong or am I not speaking up enough? Do I need more certification? Um, do I need to be twice as prepared? By the way, you do. You do have to be twice as prepared. And that is how racism hides inside professionalism. It makes you turn your frustration inward. You're asking yourself those questions as if you missed the point or there's something else that you could have done that you didn't do. So here's what I want you to walk away with. If you felt like you're working twice as hard just to be seen as average, you're not crazy. If you've ever watched people get opportunities with half the effort and then you're told that it's merit, you're not crazy. And if you're someone who still believes in meritocracy the way that it is advertised in America, I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you to wake up, get clear-eyed, because some workplaces don't reward merit. They reward familiarity. They reward comfort. They reward proximity to power. Meritocracy in America, the way they talk about it is not the real meaning. It is something often disguised and used to deny opportunities to people who do not look like them. So protect yourself and create paper trails. Ask questions. Actually, know the rules better than they know it themselves. And do not let anybody gaslight you into thinking that the rules are fair when you can literally see that they're not being applied equally. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see that. So, if this video hit home for you, share it with someone who needs language for what they've been experiencing and what they've been questioning themselves about, or what they feel like for some reason that they're imagining. And with that, my name is Webley. I am on this consistency journey to post 100 days on YouTube. Today is day 34. And if you are in this journey with me, you've been following so far, thank you. If you're new, hit subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for day 35.